Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Mahua Moti. Today I'll be telling you a story by R.K. Narayan. R.K. Narayan is a well-known, very prolific Indian author who was born in 1906 and he passed away in 2001. He's considered one of the country's greatest authors. And as a young man, Narayan tried his hand at several professions, and teaching was one of them. So, this story is particularly based on his teaching experience, and he also reflects on something very interesting in this story. So, when he decided to become a fiction writer in, I think, 1930s, he chose to write in English, which was very unusual for Indian writers at that time. But he says that English language came very naturally to him, and he's very well known for creating a small town known as Malgudi, and his famous novel is also set in that town of Malgudi. His first novel was Swami and Friends, which he had published in 1935. So this is just a small background about R.K. Narayan, and let's see what the story I'm reading today. And the key idea of the story is that we all know that honesty is the best policy, but sometimes the truth hurts people's feelings. And in this story, there's a school teacher who one day decides that at least one day in a year, he should only speak the truth. So, and that's the day he has talked about in this story. What all goes on, how his relations become strained because he speaks nothing but the truth, and how a conflict develops with the headmaster because the teacher, Sekhar or Shekhar, has decided to speak just the truth. So, here we go with the story. Like the Sun by R.K. Narayan. Truth, Shekhar reflected, is like the sun. I suppose no human being can ever look it straight in the face without blinking or being dazed. He'd realized that, morning till night, the essence of human relationships consisted in tempering truth so that it might not shock. This day he set apart as a unique day. At least one day in a year, we must give and take absolute truth, whatever may happen. Otherwise, life is not worth living. The day ahead seemed to him full of possibilities. He told no one of his experiment. It was a quiet resolve, a secret pact between him and eternity. The very first test came when his wife served him his morning meal. He showed hesitation over a tidbit which she had thought was her culinary masterpiece. She asked, "Why isn't it good?" At other times, he would have said, considering her feelings in the matter, "I feel full up, that's all." But today he said, "It isn't good. I'm unable to swallow it." He saw her wince and said to himself, "Can't I help? Truth is like the sun." His next trial was in the common room when one of his colleagues came up and said, "Did you hear the death of so and so? Don't you think it's a pity?" "No," Shekhar answered. "He was such a fine man." The other began, but Shekhar cut him short with, "Far from it. He always struck me as a mean and selfish brute." During the last period, when he was teaching geography for third form A, Shekhar received a note from the headmaster. "Please see me before you go home." Shekhar said to himself, "It must be about these horrible test papers, 100 papers in the boy's scrawls." He had shirked his work for weeks, feeling all the time as if a sword were hanging over his head. The bell rang and the boys burst out of the class. Shekhar paused for a moment outside the headmaster's room to button up his coat. That was another subject the headmaster always sermonized about. He stepped in with a very polite, "Good evening, sir." The headmaster looked up at him in a very friendly manner and asked, "Are you free this evening?" Shekhar replied, "Just some outing which I had promised the children at home." "Well, you can take them out another day. Come home with me now." "Oh, yes, sir, certainly." And then he added timidly, "Anything special, sir?" "Yes," replied the headmaster, smiling to himself. "You didn't know my weakness for music." "Oh, yes, sir. I've been learning and practicing secretly, and now I want you to hear me this evening. I've engaged a drummer and a violinist to accompany me. This is the first time I'm doing it full dress, and I want your opinion. I know it will be valuable." Shekhar's taste in music was well known. He was one of the most dreaded music critics in the town. But he never anticipated his musical inclinations would lead him to this trial. "Rather a surprise for you, isn't it?" asked the headmaster. "I've spent a fortune on it behind closed doors." They started for the headmaster's house. "God hasn't given me a child, but at least let him not deny me the consolation of music," the headmaster said, pathetically, as they walked. He incessantly chattered about music, how he began one day out of sheer boredom, how his teacher at first laughed at him and then gave him hope, how his ambition in life was to forget himself in music. At home, the headmaster proved very ingratiating. He sat Shekhar on a red silk carpet, set before him several dishes of delicacies, and fused over him as if he were a son-in-law in the house. He even said, "Well, you must listen with a free mind. Don't worry about the test papers." He added half humorously, "I will give you a week's time." "Make it 10 days, sir," Shekhar pleaded. "All right, granted," the headmaster said generously. Shekhar felt really relieved now. He would attack them at the rate of 10 a day and get rid of the nuisance. The headmaster lighted incense sticks. "Just to create the right atmosphere," he explained. The drummer and violinist, already seated on a rangoon mat, were waiting for him. The headmaster sat down between them like a professional at a concert, cleared his throat and began an alpana, and paused to ask, "Isn't it good, Kalyani?" Shekhar pretended not to have heard the question. The headmaster went on to sing a full song composed by Tyagaraja and followed it with two more. All the time the headmaster was singing, Shekhar went on commenting within himself, "He croaks like a dozen frogs. He's bellowing like a buffalo. Now he sounds like those window shutters in a storm." The incense sticks burnt up. The incense sticks burnt low. Shekhar's head throbbed with the medley of sounds that had assailed his eardrums for a couple of hours now. He felt half stupefied. The headmaster had gone nearly hoarse when he paused to ask, "Shall I go on?" Shekhar replied. "Please don't, sir. I think this will do." The headmaster looked stunned. His face was beaded with perspiration. Shekhar felt the greatest pity for him, but he felt he could not help it. No judge delivering a sentence felt more pained and helpless. Shekhar noticed that the headmaster's wife peeped in from the kitchen with eager curiosity. The drummer and the violinist put away their burdens with an air of relief. The headmaster removed his spectacles, mopped his brow, and asked, "Now, come out with your opinion." "Can't I give it tomorrow, sir?" Shekhar asked tentatively. "No, I want it immediately. Your frank opinion. Was it good?" "No, sir," Shekhar replied. "Oh, is there any use continuing my lessons?" "Absolutely none, sir," Shekhar said with his voice trembling. He felt very unhappy that he could not speak more soothingly. Truth, he reflected, required as much strength to give as to receive. All the way home he felt worried. He felt that his official life was not going to be smooth sailing hereafter. There were questions of increment and confirmation and so on, all depending upon the headmaster's goodwill. All kinds of worries seemed to be in store for him. Did not Harishchandra lose his throne, wife, children, because he would speak nothing less than the absolute truth, whatever happened? At home, his wife served him with a sullen face. He knew she was still angry with him for his remark of the morning. 2 casualties for a day? Shekhar said to himself. If I practice it for a week, I don't think I shall have a single friend left. He received a call from the headmaster in his classroom next day. He went up apprehensively. Your suggestion was useful. I have paid off the music master. No one would tell me the truth about my music all these days. Why such antics at my age? Thank you. By the way, what about those test papers? You gave me 10 days, sir, for correcting them. Oh, I have reconsidered it. I must positively have them here tomorrow. 100 papers in a day. That meant all night sitting up. Give me a couple of days, sir. No, I must have them tomorrow morning. And remember, every paper must be thoroughly scrutinized. Yes, sir, Shekhar said, feeling that sitting up all night with 100 test papers was a small price to pay for the luxury of practicing truth.